Welcome back for this section 5.3 dealing with slope-intercept form. We've seen what we can do if we have the slope and the y-intercept, whether it's from getting the graph and going to the equation or having the equation. I'll kind of give you the play-by-play. So we've seen, given the equation, get the slope, get the y-intercept of b. We've seen from the graph, go to make the equation. But now we're going to go kind of redirect a lot of this because we might not end up being able to get the slope or the y-intercept just based off of an equation or based off of the graph. So really, in reality, what do you need to make this happen? Well, with slope, the formula, we have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And the reason that we can use this is because we have 2 points on the line. If we didn't have those, we wouldn't be able to use slope formula. And if we don't have the y-intercept, then we need to find it. What do the two ordered pairs represent for the two variables in the equation? So the ordered pairs represent the x and the y, duh. They help us give that x and the y, but the two ordered pairs when combined help us get the slope, which we can then use to get the y-intercept. So it's kind of an odd play-by-play, but we can follow these steps if we don't know the slope or the y-intercept. So we can find the slope using the given points. Sometimes you have to navigate what those are. We can choose either point and plug in for x and y, solve for the y-intercept, then write the final equation. So with this example seen here, we have these 2 points, 2, 1, and 5, negative 8. And we're trying to write this in slope-intercept form. Notice that neither of these are the y-intercept. So let's follow through. Slope first. So this is the first step. Let's call this x1, y1, x2, y2. So this would be negative 8. We have to deduct 1. We have 5 deducting 2. So this is going to be negative 8 minus 1, which is negative 9. 5 minus 2 gets you 3. When simplified, our slope is now negative 3. So now we can choose either point and plug in for x and y. So what does this look like? This is going to start to mirror what the equation is that we need, because we know that we have y equals negative 3x plus b. And so for this, using either point, I'm going to choose the point that makes my life easy. The first point's 2, 1. These terms are both negative, so I'm going to run with that. So I'm going to plug in 2, 1. My y-coordinate has to be 1. I have negative 3. I have x, which is now 2, but I still don't know b. So what does this mean, solving for b? Well, I can take the product of negative 3 and 2, which is going to give us negative 6. So let's rewrite this here. 1 is now equal to negative 6 plus b. This is pretty much a one-step equation at this point. If we add 6 to both sides, this is going to say that 7 equals b. So now that we've knocked out the first step, finding the slope given the 2 points, we have solved for the y-intercept way down here. Now write the final equation. I know that it's y equals the slope of negative 3 times x, adding on the y-intercept of 7, and we're here. Y equals negative 3x plus 7. I'll give you a moment to try the next one, where this is 3, negative 2, 1, negative 3. Go to slope-intercept form, get to it. You should be saying negative 3 minus negative 2 is going to get you your slope up top. And then finally 1 minus 3. This up top part here is going to be negative 1. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So in this case, your slope is 1/2. if you take this further, you can have y equals 1/2 x plus b. I'm going to plug in 3 comma -2. So -2 for y. 1/2 still sitting tight. 3 for x plus b. 1/2 times 3 is going to give us 3/2. So -2 equals 3/2 plus b. If we subtract 3/2 on both sides, here and here, the fraction work here is a little tricky, so we have -2 and we're deducting 3/2, so it would look something like this. So when you cross multiply on this, you end up with -7/2. And that's b. So the final equation would look like y equals 1/2 x minus 7/2. And we're done. We'll start to segue into graphing now, where, we've kind of been doing this for a bit. I'll give you the step-by-step on what we need to do, though. So how's this going to work? We're first going to graph out the y-intercept, because that's a deal of convenience. So we're going to plot the y-intercept, and then we're going to use slope to get other points on the line. So what's the y-intercept in this case for y equals 2x minus 1? You should be saying that the very final number in this case is -1. That's our b term. So let's plot that here. And although our slope is pretty easy to spot as +2, whenever I think of slope, I think of what the fraction looks like, because I know that my slope is the change in y over the change in x. In this case, if our slope's 2, we can rewrite this as just 2 over 1. And lo and behold, we have directions on what we need to do from here on out to graph these other points. So this is saying that our change in x should move over 1 for every point. So we fulfilled this, and then 2. So go up. 1, 2, we check that. This gives us another point seen here. And what's cool is that you can be repetitive with this. You can keep going and going and going. So one point that we have is 0, -1. The new point that we just developed was 1, 1. We could keep this going, move over 1, move up 2. Another point's now 2, 3. Move over 1, up 2. This new point's now 3, 5. And you can probably start to see the pattern here of what's going on, but let's first graph this just to make sure that we fulfill the problem. Of course, using a straight edge, because you want your work to look really good. Go through all those points, show arrows on the left and the right to show that it's continuing. But as far as the table, you know that this is definitely adding 2, adding 2, adding 2, which, as we saw here, was our change in y. What's the change in x? One more time. You'd say that the change in x in this case is going to keep adding 1. Just keeps on adding 1. So if you follow these steps, plot the y-intercept, use slope to get other points, you'll be pretty successful with graphing. If you have any questions, email me or reach out with them in class. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe below.